G'day everyone, welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark, a YouTube channel that focuses on talking about rugby and having great rugby banter between fans across the world. If you're looking for a channel that focuses on pronunciation and elocution lessons, then this is probably not the place for you. You know if you know. Okay, let's get on with the chat today. And today I'm going to be talking about Rugby 360. Yes, a lot of people are talking about this across the world of rugby at the moment because it could be a changing face of rugby. But let's get into the show right now. Now, whenever any new venture starts, I always go straight to looking at who's behind it, looking at the background of the people, what experience they've had, because I think that tells you a lot about the potential success of any venture that's a startup. We have a situation in track and field at the moment with a guy called Michael Johnson. You might know him, a fantastic ex-runner, Olympic champion, world record holder, and he tried to start a new concept this year across America called Grand Slam Track. Well, it didn't take off. He's gone broke with it, basically owes a lot of people money, and it goes to show that not always athletes or ex-athletes make good business people, and that's one thing to bear in mind. So when I heard the news of R360, I went straight away to look at who's behind it, what experience they've got, and what they could possibly bring to making this get off the ground, but more importantly, remain sustainable within the global rugby world. So I had a look at some of the key people behind R360, and I came up first of all with the name Mark Spores. He's an ex or former agent, player's agent, knows how to do dealings with players, and he's obviously been brought on to this team to have a look at how he can recruit some of the key people they're going to need to get this league off the ground. Next up on the list I found was Stuart Hooper, and of course he's the ex-director of rugby at the Bath Rugby Club. So he's got a bit of an experience of running a rugby club, and obviously some contacts in that world as well. So next on the list I found was John Loffigan, and this guy's had some experience in terms of the IPL cricket set up in India, and also LIV golf, live golf, that's got off the ground and is making its mark across the world as well. So he's got some experience in doing these disruption breakaway leagues and working within that legal framework of that. So he's probably a good person to have as one of the key components of setting up R360 across. And then another person's name I came across was Alistair McLean. Alistair used to work for World Rugby. He's since resigned from his position there, but this is key as well because R360 are going to want to get World Rugby to sanction this league if it's going to get off the ground, and having someone like Alistair associated, whether it be in a consultancy role or some activity like that, I think will be key. He's got the relationships obviously at World Rugby that could help R360. So I think Alistair McLean might be a key component in terms of crossing that bridge to World Rugby and getting that agreement, which they've said they've already got in principle. So that's an interesting comment that's been made along the way. And then the last key name I came across was Mike Tindle, of course the ex-England rugby player. He's got contacts in the highest places when it comes to royalty across the world. But Mike Tindle, no doubt about it, he's got a lot of contacts across the rugby world. So there you go, there's some of the key names that I found out about who's behind this R360. Now the next thing you need to do when you look at any ventures like this is to follow the money. So where's the money and the investment going to come from? Well, my first bit of research when it came to following the money tree behind R360 led me straight to Saudi Arabia, and there's no doubt about it, the Middle East once again are looking at investing in sport across the world in any capacity they can, and it seems like the PIF, the Public Investment Fund from Saudi Arabia, has got some money involved or is going to have some money involved in R360. So their pockets are pretty deep over there with the PIF, so I suspect that their investment in this could be relatively huge. There's also other investors that are being named as well, particularly coming out of the UK. There could be a few billionaires involved in it as well, but I think if the PIF is involved, as they were with LIV Golf, then I think there could be some substantial investment. So following the money is always important when you're talking about this, because startups are easy to start. The key is keeping them sustainable. So if there's some deep pockets involved, so this could actually get some traction, then having someone like the PIF involved would be a very, very good partner indeed. Okay, so that's where the money's coming from, or some of it, and that's who some of the people are involved. But what is R360 and what's it going to bring to us as rugby fans? Well, it's going to be a breakaway league that basically plays a 16-game season. The season's going to be broken up into two parts. There's going to be games in April, May and June, and then there's going to be the following games in August and September. And this is the reason they've done this, is to try and work together with World Rugby and look at the current rugby calendar that you can see here on the screen now, compared to what they're proposing and where they're proposing to fit this league in. So you can see when they're proposing to fit this league in to try and break the gap, I guess, or to fill the gap that currently exists within the World Rugby schedule. And this is also considering what's coming down the pipe with the Nations Cup and all the rest of it. So that's the proposed schedule in terms of timings. Okay, so that's when the games will be played and how many of them will be played in this league. But where will they be played? Well, it's very much a global format, and they're talking about taking these games to cities like Barcelona in Spain, Buenos Aires in Argentina, London of course, Cape Town in South Africa, even Munich in Germany, Sao Paulo in Brazil, Melbourne in Australia, and Los Angeles in the United States. So very much a global splattering of cities that have been named in the potential venues of where these games will be played. Let me know about this in the comments, whether or not you'd turn up and have a look at one of these games if you lived in one of these cities. Now, in the early days of this concept being put out there, there's a lot of chatter around about potential signings. They're looking for 200 men to be signed on contract for this particular league, and already they've approached a number of New Zealand Rugby League players. They've also contacted a number of players in the NRL, which could be a big threat. And I was reading an article last night from Wayne Bennett, who's the head coach of the Rabbitohs in the NRL and also a legend within the NRL, and he says that we need to be very careful of this league. This could be very, very dangerous for the NRL. They're not going to be able to match the kinds of money that's being talked about. And Roger Tuivasa-Sheck has already been offered something close to $1 million a season to play in this league, and the concept cannot be matched by the NRL at this stage. So this could be a huge threat to the NRL in Australia, and Wayne Bennett is saying do not take this lightly. The heads of the NRL really need to get together and look at how much of a potential threat this is going to be across the board for the NRL competition. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not this negotiation process is going to be something that comes out of this for all of the players as well, with their respective clubs that they're representing at the moment. So, you know, one of the things we need to be careful of when we're talking about any startups like this, there's going to be a lot of misinformation put out there about it. There's going to be a lot of anonymous sources talking about players that have signed up. So until we hear officially, I think we should take everything with a grain of salt. But there appears to be, from what I've looked at, some genuinely well credentialed people behind this, and they seem to have a lot of money behind it as well. Remember back to the days of Live Golf taking off and everybody saying it's not going to work, no one's going to go and see it. Well, I'm living here in Mexico, and just down the road at Maricopa Golf Club, there's thousands of people that turn up to watch the LIV event. It's very popular here, as it is in a lot of places around the world, and of course a lot of players are getting paid an enormous amount of money. And when we're talking about the kinds of players that this league wants to attract, well, they're obviously going to want the best players in the world eventually, but are they going to get them straight away? Maybe not. Maybe those players are on the peripheral of retirement might be the ones that they target. They've also talked about getting under 23 players coming in there as well in the future of rugby. So is that going to be a disruptor to the main game? I'd like to hear all your comments on this one. It's an interesting topic for all. But I tell you what, at the end of the day, I'm the sort of guy that's behind anything that's going to make rugby better across the world. So if this can be proven to be something that's going to make rugby better across the world, then I'm for it. I remember back to the days when I lived in Australia and Kerry Packer came along and disrupted the whole cricket scene and came out with the World Series, and from that we were born into one-day cricket that we get to enjoy across the world today. So that was something at the time that everybody was saying it's not going to work, it's not going to fit into the establishment of cricket, it's not the right culture and everything else for cricket. Well, look at one-day cricket across the world today. So we shouldn't boo-hoo these ideas until we see their actual impact, if they get off the ground and if they can be made sustainable for the good of rugby across the world. So that's my views and opinions on it. I'd love to hear your views and opinions on it. R360, is it something that you're going to follow with interest, at least the startup phase, and whether or not they get off the ground? And then if they do get off the ground, are you going to be a potential supporter of it by getting along to the games or watching it? And when we talk about watching it, they're talking about putting everything on YouTube, which is another new innovation, and that's something we need in world rugby. And I'm another guy who talks about innovation within the game a lot. If you go back to some of my videos from last year, I talked about what I think world rugby needs to do to really up its game in supporting the game grow across the world, and innovation was something that was at the top of my list. So this is an innovative idea. Of course there's going to be a lot of haters and knockers, as there always is. I've got them here on my channel, so let's not worry about that too much. Let's look at how we can make the best solutions for the game of rugby across the world. I think that's what we should all be focused on. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'm just a little YouTube guy who's living here in beautiful Mexico. So let me know your views about R360, whether you think it's a good idea or not. And as more information comes to hand that I can validate, I'll put it out there in other videos. But we're just hours away now from hearing the teams that are going to play in this year's Rugby Championship competition. We're still to hear about the Wallabies, Argentina and New Zealand, as their coaches will select their teams in the next 24 hours. And I'll be back right then with more content talking about those games and giving you my in-depth preview, so make sure you stick around. I thank you for hitting the subscribe button. I also thank you for sending me your comments and giving this video a thumbs up as well. So there we go, that's it for this video. Just thought I'd share my opinions on that. Let me know yours in the comments. And it's time for me to say adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. I'll be back with some more content very soon. Until then, it's time to say bye for now.